Good Thursday evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett here in the King 5 newsroom. We are under a first alert weather alert. We've got a very interesting scenario setting up overnight tonight that's going to bring some freezing rain, some snow, and then eventually all that switches over to rain tomorrow. But it's going to make travel treacherous, as if it hasn't already been treacherous enough. Now, the good news is once this moves through, it will warm the atmosphere, and we'll see those temperatures finally getting to a place where they're not as frigid as they have been. Take a look at this. This is currently at about 9:45 on Thursday evening, and this is what temperatures are doing across the country. Seattle, it's cold, 23 degrees. In fact, it's warmer in Detroit than it is in Seattle right now. It's warmer in New York than it's warmer in Toronto. You see a pattern forming there, but it's not as bad as it is in the midsection of the country, where temperatures are currently 15 below in both Billings and in Denver, and that cold air pushing all the way down into the south. It's 11 in Dallas right now, currently 21 in Houston, and a big storm setting up across the east there that is creating major travel plans. Wind chill is keeping things even colder. In fact, we've seen those gusty Fraser outflow winds continuing up towards Whatcom County, making it feel like 9 degrees in Bellingham, 12 in Mount Vernon, and off along the coast, not much warmer, 16 in Forks, 15 in Hoquiam, and 20 in Chehalis. But we are about to fix that as that new system moves in. It looks like late tonight into Friday afternoon, we are under a first alert weather warning. We're looking at snow, sleet, and freezing rain. We'll talk about the mechanics behind that in just a moment, but what you need to know is this, is that travel will not only be treacherous, but downright dangerous early on Friday morning. We're expecting the potential for some down limbs and power lines and even some power outages. We've seen massive power outages off towards the San Juan Islands, possibility of even more of that as we go overnight into Friday. So it's an epic winter battle, warm and wet versus cold and dry. So what you're seeing on the screen there is that warm and wet air moving in from the south and west that's going to just battle it out right over top of the Pacific Northwest with that cold, dry air mass that just doesn't seem to want to budge. So we're talking about freezing rain quite a bit and the mechanics behind that. Now, this graph isn't as great as I'd like it to be, but what it does do is show the difference between rain, freezing rain, sleet, and then just straight snow. Let's start with straight snow. When it comes out of the clouds there in the form of dendritic snowflakes and it doesn't encounter any type of different air mass, well, then it just comes out as snow and falls as snow. Sleet is a little different. It comes out of the cloud as snow, but then it meets that cold air mass and melts a little bit and kind of comes down as something between rain and snow. Freezing rain falls out of the cloud as snow or rain, and then once it hits that blue layer, you see right there where there was the kind of that blue right there, that is that freezing air mass. So it doesn't turn into snow, it doesn't turn into sleet, it doesn't turn into hail or anything like that. It continues to fall as rain. But the ground is so cold that as soon as it hits the ground and makes contact, it freezes immediately. So you may recognize an image like this. In fact, you see a lot of these storms across the Midwest this time of year where you get that water that just freezes onto limbs, power lines, automobiles, roads, sidewalks, and that can create a lot of complications. Take a look at satellite and radar on Thursday night. You're seeing some weird colors there, especially that lavender color. That is that freezing rain. You're also seeing some snow out ahead of that as well. In fact, we're seeing snow up towards our northern counties and then finally seeing some rain along the coast. In fact, that's a big part of it. We'll see everything switch over to rain tomorrow afternoon. Looking across the Seattle Metro on this Thursday night, currently 23 degrees and that wind coming out of the east about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Dew point is 6, humidity is 48. It is not only cold, but it's dry out there. In fact, a lot of the precipitation that we saw falling across the region earlier was evaporating before it hit the ground. That will not be the case tonight. In fact, we'll see some snowflakes around 10 p.m. and then it will switch over to that freezing rain. And one of the things that you notice that's really weird about this is even though we're in the overnight hours when temperatures are usually declining, they will actually warm. By the time we get to about 6 a.m., still below freezing, but about 8 degrees warmer than it will be at 10 p.m. That said, we got a wind chill advisory in effect until 10 p.m. tonight. That may actually be extended out. We'll give you some updates tonight at 11 on King. Winter storm warning in effect until 7 p.m. on Friday for all of western Washington, expecting up to about 3 inches of snow up towards our northern counties and up to about 1/4 of an inch in ice. So as far as that freezing rain goes, this is where we're expecting it to be, from basically Seattle southward and into some of the foothill communities along both Highway 2 and Interstate 90, and then as far south as Chehalis and and Raymond, and then places like Bremerton and Shelton could actually exceed that 1/4 of an inch and get up to about 1/3 and maybe even 1/2 an inch, and that's going to be some pretty rough going for folks on Friday. As far as lowland snow accumulation goes, yep, up towards Skagit and Whatcom County, not expecting freezing rain, but we will see some accumulations anywhere from about 2 inches in Oak Harbor to about 4.5 inches in Bellingham on top of what's already on the ground there. So here's how it plays out. We put the weather setup into motion, and it's just going to be storm after storm after storm. Now, don't worry, kids. It looks like Santa's going to get through just fine. I'll show you how in just a moment here, but just be prepared for it. Once this switches over to rain, we're going to see plenty behind it. So let's put everything into motion here. You see that weird pink salmon color there? This is around 2:30 in the morning, and as we saw earlier, this is where we expect most of that freezing rain to fall and accumulate. It's going to be down towards the southwest interior, South Sound, and all the way out towards the coast, and then the northwestern tip of the Olympic Peninsula. Meanwhile, from Everett northward, it comes down as snow, and will continue to do that through most of the night. Now, by the time we get to about 10 a.m., everything switches over to rain, which is some good news because now we will no longer have that freezing rain, unless, of course, you happen to be up near Stevens or Snoqualmie Pass, where we're going to see snow levels go way up real quick after being down at sea level through most of the week. Rain will continue into the afternoon. This is right around 1:30 on Friday afternoon, and we'll see what was snow up near the Canadian border switch over to rain. So a lot of those accumulations that we'll see in the early morning hours will get rained out and no longer exist by the time we get to dinner time. This is 5:30 p.m. on Friday, and now it's all rain down low, some of it periodically heavy like you see in the yellows there, and then we'll see snow above, say, about the 5,000 foot line. Now we get to Friday about 11:30, now things start to taper, but we will continue to see some steady rain from Tacoma through Seattle into some of the foothills, and then snow way up high around 6,000 feet. Now here's what to expect on Saturday. Next system moves in. You're seeing a lot of color there. We'll also see that freezing rain up towards Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass. It's going to be a rough go for folks early on Saturday morning, and then off towards Moses Lake and Chelan, we'll see that freezing rain and a rain-snow mix there as well. This is what we're expecting throughout the day on Saturday. Bands of heavy rain until about the mid-afternoon, and then it will start to taper over Puget Sound to kind of push itself into the foothills, and we will be seeing some rain up high in places like Baker. We'll also see some snow off towards the northeastern portion of the state and some of that freezing rain down towards the southeastern portion. This is Sunday about 2:30, and as I promised earlier, kids, it looks like that will be the window for Santa to come in, get his work done there. Everything should be clean and clear and a bit warmer than it has been, so everything looking good for present delivery. If you want to get out and play with your toys, looks like Sunday morning is going to be a fine time to do that, but then by about 2 p.m. we'll start to see another band of rain moving in. This should be fairly moderate, especially compared to what we will see on Saturday and what we will see later in the week. In fact, that's a big part of our story, is temperatures will no longer be sub-freezing. We'll get up to about 38 on Friday, and then starting Saturday and Sunday we'll be in the mid to upper 40s, and then next week we're expecting more rain. In fact, we could be tapping into a couple of atmospheric rivers, but the bottom line is we'll see temperatures that will get up into the upper 40s and lower 50s and stay there for the final week of December. Live from the King 5 newsroom, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett. Stay warm, stay safe, and keep looking up.